Let us continue our discussion on Introduction to Operating System. First, let us talk about system programs. System programs provide a convenient environment for program development and execution. Let us see the different types of system programs based on the task that they perform. System programs can be generally classified into 7 categories: file management, status management, file modification, programming language support, program loading and execution, communications, and background services. The first one is file management. Program to create, delete, copy, rename, print, list files, and generally we can say that the programs that helps in manipulating files and directories comes under the file management category. The next one is status information. The system programs that fall under this category are those system programs that ask the system for its status information like utilities to check on the date, time, number of users, processes running, data logging, etc. System registries are used to store and recall configuration information for particular applications. Next is file modification. These are the system programs which help in modifying your file. File management deals with managing the structure of the file, whereas file modification deals with managing the content of the file. There may be several text editors to create and modify the content of the file. There may also be special commands to search contents of the file or perform transformations on the text. Next one is programming language support. These are system programs that provide support to do programs in common programming languages like compilers, linkers, debuggers, assemblers, interpreters, etc. Next is program loading and execution. Our programs were compiled and assembled using those system programs that fall under category programming language support. Once your program is compiled or assembled, it has to be loaded and executed. These are system programs that support program loading and execution like different types of loaders, absolute loaders, relocatable loaders, linkage editors, and overlay loaders. Sometimes debugging systems for high-level languages as well as machine language may also be provided. Next one is communication. These are the programs that helps in communication. This includes programs for providing connectivity between processes and users, including mail, web browsers, remote logins, file transfer, and remote command execution. Last category is background services, also known as services, subsystems, or daemons. System daemons are commonly started when the system is booted and run for as long as the system is running, handling necessary services. Examples include network daemons, print servers, process schedulers, and system error monitoring services. Now let us discuss about the structure of the operating system. As we have already seen, there are different components in an operating system. The structure of the operating system decides how the various components fits inside the operating system. One of the earlier approach was monolithic structure. This structure has no basic structure. Here the operating system is written as a collection of procedures. Each procedure can call any other procedure. Here, the entire operating system is working in kernel space or kernel mode. Monolithic structure was followed by the earlier Unix systems. Though this structure is very efficient, debugging and isolating errors is difficult. Since the entire system works in the same address space, the modification in one session may affect the operation of unrelated sections. Next is the layered structure. In layered structure, operating system is organized as a hierarchy of layers, each built on the top of lower layers. The bottom layer, layer 0, is hardware. The highest layer, layer n, is the user interface. Lower level layers provide services to higher level layers using the interfaces that hide their implementation. Each layer uses functions and services of only lower level layers. An example of layered architecture is shown here. This approach allows the implementation of each layer to be modified without requiring any modification to the adjacent layers. The major difficulty with layered system structure is the organization of the various layers in a proper manner, because a layer can use only those layers which are at the lower level. Careful planning is necessary. The next type is microkernel. The idea behind microkernel is that only the essential core operating system functions should be in the kernel. Most microkernels provide only a few essential functions like basic process and memory management and message passing. All other functions are provided by server process which executes in user mode. Communication takes place between the user modules using message passing. The diagrammatic representation of the architecture is shown here. It is easier to extend a microkernel by just adding new services to user space, and this do not require kernel modification. Microkernel architecture is more reliable and more secure as most of the services are running in user mode. If a service fails, the rest of the operating system remains untouched. However, the drawback is performance degradation due to the communication overhead between the user space and the kernel space through message passing. Since each architecture has its own merits and demerits, most operating systems today do not strictly adhere to one architecture but are hybrids of several.